Hello, friends. I'm Pastor JP, and thank you for checking out Kingsway Church online. You can learn more about Kingsway at kingsway.tv. You can also find us on social media. Now, stay tuned for an encouraging message is on the way.
Well, I'm Christie Vick. For those of you who don't know, I am not the lead pastor here. I'm married to him, and he is unfortunately on his way to a family funeral this morning. So I'm stepping in. So pray for him. Pray for me. Pray for all of us. We're going to continue our Judges study this morning in Judges 7. So if you could, turn to Judges 7 with me so we can talk about Gideon. Or really, we're going to talk about his circle. We're going to talk about the 300. Let me give you some background here before we jump in. At this point in their history, Israel is subject to their enemies, the Midianites. So much so that when we find Gideon, he's been hiding in a wine press to thresh wheat. The raids have gotten so bad with their enemies that he is hiding that food from them. He's hiding and threshing that wheat so that they can't come take it away. Because at this point, the Israelites have nearly nothing. And before this chapter, if you go and read it, you'll see that Gideon is wrestling with God, calling him to lead the Israelites against this enemy army. And after an exhaustive exchange, Gideon agrees. I can't throw stones at Gideon, though, because I would be in that same situation. In fact, I have been, but that's another story. So Judges 7, starting with verse 1. Early in the morning, Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all his men camped at the spring of Harod. The camp of Midian was north of them in the valley near the hill of Morah. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many men for me to deliver Midian into their hands. In order that Israel may not boast against me, that her own strength has saved her, announce now to the people, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead." So 22,000 men left, while 10,000 remained. God excuses 20,000 soldiers. He determines there are too many men, and his glory is at stake, because God will not share his glory, ever. But God is also protecting these men. He is actually echoing a war provision that we find in Deuteronomy 20, verse 8, which says, "Is any man afraid or faint-hearted, let him go home, so that his brothers will not become disheartened too." God has fashioned and formed every neuron, every ganglion, every synapse of our brains. He knows when the part of our brain called the amygdala senses fear, our cerebral cortex, the area of the brain that harnesses reasoning and judgment, becomes terribly impaired. Terror literally hijacks our ability to rationalize and make good decisions. Anybody been there? Around the age of 14 or 15, my friend and I decided to head down to our local Blockbuster. That's right, the Big Blue. Some of y'all will never know the agony of having your movie out at the local Blockbuster and the hope that creeps up into your throat when you look in the return box, hoping someone's returned it. And it shows. Some of y'all not tough like that. We decided to go to our local Blockbuster, grab a movie, make it a night with our 79-cent tacos from Taco Bell. Yes, they used to be 79 cents. In fact, they used to be 10 cents. That shows my age a little bit. We pulled up into the drive, grabbed our stuff, headed to the door. She placed her key in the lock, put her hand on the doorknob, turned it, opened, and we came face to face with an intruder carrying some of their stuff across the living room. I'll never forget it. So, she closes that door. This rings in my head sometimes, even when I don't want it to. Turns to me and says, Bake. My nickname was Bake in high school because my maiden name is Baker, because my older brother was Baker. So I was Bake. I'm glad we went on that journey and we have established this relationship. She says, Bake, run. And then she takes off. And for a second, I can't even grasp or understand what is happening. It feels like an eternity is passing. And I know this didn't actually happen this way, but that terror made every millisecond feel like the pace of eternity. I turned to follow. Stay right here. I turned to follow. My legs suddenly feel like they're 100 pounds each. There's not enough oxygen in the universe at this point. I can't move fast enough, can't think fast enough. I hear the sound of the intruder's heavy footsteps behind me. He had followed us out of the house, and all I can think about is, get away, get away, get away, get away, get away. And these rapid-fire synapses that are overwhelming my terror-filled mind as we run to a friend's nearby house who happens to be a police officer, continue to assault everything I think and feel and know in that moment. We're practically breaking down that door as we scream for help. And seeing that we had reached help, the guy turned around and took off. The police officer went in pursuit, and his wife called 911. By the time our hearts had slowed down enough to process what had just happened, my friend asked me, "What is that in your hand?" I looked down, and I am still holding our tacos. Apparently, in the mix of all that, I thought, save the tacos. I didn't even realize I was carrying them. My brain could only register in that moment, survive. Survive. And barely that. But let it not ever be said of me that I would leave a good taco behind. And don't start telling me Taco Bell is not good. I don't want to hear it. We won't eat together there. That's fine. Go enjoy your $15 burrito at Chipotle. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. I share all of that to point out fear acts on the nervous system in ways that can't be explained or even recognized in moments where clarity matters most. God is not condemning these terror-filled soldiers. I want us to see that. He's protecting them. And he's preserving those who remain in the fight because fear can get them all killed. God is sifting the circle. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to find myself in the fight of my life flanked by people whose terror overrides their capability to think straight. Anybody watched the news lately? Those are not my people. But let me put out this disclaimer. We can forget that fear is not the absence of faith. Fear can be an acknowledgement of very real possible outcomes, like the danger of being chased by an intruder. We live in a broken world. Fear can be a mechanism of protection. Fear can be a warning. Fear can be a tool that we use to sharpen our faith, but it does not define it. God sifts fear from faith. He recognizes and validates their fear by telling them, this isn't your fight, not today. Hear the word of the Lord today. Every battle is not yours. Say to your neighbor, it's not yours. Sometimes it's just not your fight. You're not prepared. You're not suited up. You're not ready. You're not ready. Stay home till you're ready. In Exodus, we read that even though the Israelites were armed for battle when they came up out of Egypt, God purposefully led them along a longer route away from enemy territory because they weren't trained for war. Not yet. My friends, just because we're dressed for war doesn't mean we're ready for it. If you're wondering why you're wandering or taking too long to get to your destination, why you might feel stuck where you are, it could be that God is using this season. He's biding his time so that you can be ready for the battle in the next. And that is not a judgment upon you or your faith. We just have seasons where we're not up to it, and seasons in which we're not called to it. And that is true for our friends as well. We may find ourselves more alone than we thought we would be when we step onto the field. Consider if that is the case that God is sifting your circle. You don't need fear by your side. You need faith. And it could be that those friends aren't ready for this battle that you're facing. They aren't mature enough in their faith. And he is protecting you and them. It is wisdom and grace that helps us determine who should be on the field and who shouldn't. And if you are struggling with fear today, ask yourself, is this fear that prompts faith, or is this fear that provides protection? Recognize the difference so that you can recognize which battles are yours to trust to God and which ones are not. God may just be saying, sit down, boo-boo. Rest up for the next one. Because, friends, I can promise you there's a next one. And can I parent y'all for a second? Ever since I have entered my 40s, I just feel like the whole world needs all the knowledge I have. That's right. I have determined that 40 is the new 80, and I can say and do whatever I want. I can be fussy. You 80-year-olds know what I'm talking about. We're just done with the nonsense, right? We're done with the nonsense. We're going to sip our peppermint tea at night and think about how the world is just going to you know where. Let me parent you for a second. Stop making battles yours that aren't. Stop making battles yours that aren't. Stop getting into the mix of things that have nothing to do with you. That's not daring, that's drama. And ain't nobody got time for that. Not when we really are in the fight of our lives every day. Just waking up in the morning, y'all. Me and the son, we don't get along. He's not my friend. Getting kids ready for school in the morning, and that one shoe. Or the car line. Do y'all know what we're doing yet? Y'all struggling. Y'all struggling, and I want to just come pray for you. Just want to get out of my car and pray for you. Or passing in the left lane. We've discussed this. The left lane. Or standing behind someone in a coffee shop who has no idea what they're doing, has no sense of self, and decided they would discover that this morning with their coffee order. Let me clear it up for you. Cappuccinos do have foam. Yes. A tall is a small, but not really. Take a course before you come if you need to. But stay home till you're ready. Because some of us need our coffee. Okay? I'm a good person. I return my grocery cart. I generally respect living creatures except spiders. And I pray for people when I say I pray for people. Okay? But if you find yourself in front of me in a coffee line, please know what you're doing. Stay home till you're ready. We are in the fight, my friends, of our lives every day. And I haven't even touched on the actual hard things, the big things, the heartaches and the disappointments and the hopelessness. Maybe this season you are being sifted, and the message is, take a seat, not a sword. Let's read verses 4-7. But the Lord said to Gideon, now remember, 20,000 have left. But the Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men Take them down to the water, and I will sift them for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord told him, separate those who lap the water with their tongues like a dog from those who kneel down to drink. 300 men lapped with their hands to their mouths. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. Again, we see God is sifting the circle. He is now sifting compromise from conviction. And I'm sure at this point, Gideon's kind of losing his mind over how many men he is losing for this upcoming battle. But he didn't need compromise in his circle, and neither do you. Not this kind of compromise. Not compromising your convictions. Do you understand the difference? There's compromise that brings peace, and there's compromise that asks you to be and believe something you don't. You don't need compromise, you need conviction. How did I know they were compromising? How many of you know that when you lap water like a dog, you've got to be pretty unconcerned about your surroundings? And these men are not clear of the enemy. Where they're at, they could be attacked at any moment. And here they are, lapping water like a dog. Their posture is making them vulnerable to the enemy. And not only that, they're compromising the safety of their fellow soldiers as well. All of these men were thirsty, but 300 of them maintained their composure and their convictions despite their feelings or condition. You cannot trust a person of compromise to not compromise your integrity. You cannot trust a person of compromise to not compromise your reputation. They are not a safe place for you. Hear the word of the Lord. Not everybody is a safe place for you. Their willingness to compromise will leave you vulnerable to attack, meaning they don't have your back. Don't trust them with it. You don't need people in your circle who cannot or will not defend you from the enemy. You don't need compromise, you need conviction. It could just be that God has removed that person from your life for this season, or just placed some healthy boundaries between you. Because he knows you've been trusting them to defend you in places they are defaming you. And if you are that friend today, let me parent you. If you are struggling with compromise in areas that you shouldn't, stop it. Stop it. You know better. Find an accountability partner. Choose conviction over compromise. I can promise you that if you have a habit of compromising, you've created a reputation for that. And if you find yourself at a distance from a friend, it could be that they don't trust you and shouldn't. You haven't proven yourself to be a person of integrity. Not yet. Not yet, because we're all a work in progress. And friends, I'll be the first person to say, I've hurt people I love. I've let them down. They're in this room. But we don't stay there. We have the ability to choose conviction today and every day after. We can become people of integrity and strength. We can become people that are trustworthy. Relationships can be restored and redeemed. That's like what God does. Circles can and should grow larger. So God at this point has sifted those who are battling fear. God has sifted those who are compromised. Just the 300 remain. Why was this sifting necessary? To identify those who could stand in the battle and remain. These are those that can be trusted. These are those who will be outnumbered 450 to 1. These are those who will be standing in the dark, surrounding an army with nothing but a light in a pot and a horn. We'll read it. They will not give in to fear. They will not give in to compromise. They will courageously take on warfare from a place of weakness. I want you to imagine this. This little band of brothers is so small and their enemy so vast that in order to surround this enemy, which we read they do, they will have to stand so far apart from one another that they will not be able to see or hear one another. They don't have cell phones or flashlights or tiki lights, any lights. It's pitch black, and they have to stand so far apart from one another they can't hear or see if the other guy showed up. They will have to trust one another to remain at their post until the given signal. Can you imagine a circle, a church filled with people who could trust one another to remain at their post until the given signal? The sifting of your circle clarifies the character of those who remain. I want to be a part of that circle. I want to be a part of that church. They can be trusted. They are with you. They are for you. So who is in your circle, and whose circle are you a part of? As the church, we should be made up of circles upon circles upon circles of folks. No one should journey alone or face a battle alone or even pray alone. That's why we're passionate about these prayer stations and our prayer meeting on Wednesday nights. We still face an enemy, friends, that seeks to destroy us. And like the 300, we're called to remain. We're called to hold the line for one another and the world. Did someone come to the keys? We're all called to remain. Not because we're perfect. Whew. Me and this microphone. It doesn't do this to JP. I just want to point that out. We're called to remain, not because we're perfect, not because we don't battle our own fears, our own insecurities, our own temptations, but because we know the one who is glorified through those weaknesses, our weaknesses. Like Pastor JP said, all of these stories in the Bible are not about heroes. They are about the hero, our God. These stories point out our hearts to faith and conviction because God's power is revealed through our weakness. Let's read verses 16 through 22. Dividing the 300 men into 3 companies, he placed trumpets and empty jars in the hands of all of them with torches inside. "Watch me," he told them. "Follow my lead. When I get to the edge of the camp, do exactly as I do. When I and all who are with me blow our trumpets, then from all around the camp blow yours and shout, 'For the Lord and for Gideon.'" Gideon and the 100 men with him reached the edge of the camp at the beginning of the middle watch. Just after they had changed the guard, they blew their trumpets and broke the jars that were in their hands. The 3 companies blew the trumpets and smashed the jars. Grasping the torches in their left hands and holding in their right hands the trumpets they were to blow, they shouted, "A sword for the Lord and for Gideon," while each man held his position around the camp. All the Midianites ran, crying out as they fled. When the 300 trumpets sounded, the Lord caused the men throughout the camp to turn on each other with their swords. It wasn't the strength of their weapons that made them effective. It was the weakness of those weapons that made them effective. In order for those torches to be seen, those jars had to break. That's a word for somebody this morning. In order for that light to shine, the vessels had to yield. When we yield to God our weaknesses, it is in them that his glory can be seen, that his light can truly shine. All he needs is a handful of broken, willing vessels. He started with that and changed the world. They're the reason we're here. Let us be counted among them by those who will come after us. 2 Corinthians 4, 6 through 7 says, "For God who said, 'Light shall shine out of darkness,' is the one who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that the surpassing greatness of the power will be of God and not from ourselves. The power of the living God lives in you." Let that marinate for a minute. The power of the living God lives in you. The same resurrection power that rose Christ from the dead lives in you. Notify your face. Notify your day. Put the enemy on notice. I'm filled with the power of the living God. Let me buy that cappuccino for you, my friend. And then get thee out of my way. You are powerful beyond measure. You are powerful beyond messes. You are powerful beyond mistakes. You have the power to forgive. Y'all, I'm convinced that forgiving someone is one of our superpowers. That is one of the most important things we will ever do for someone is forgive them. Forgiveness doesn't just change lives, it changes legacies. And we have that power. We have the power to redeem. We have the power to restore life, to speak life, to be light in darkness. And all of this is possible, not because of who you are, but because of who He is within you. It's not about the vessel, my friends. It's about the light inside of it, the God inside of it. Jesus said, "Remain in me, and I will remain in you." Is your circle being sifted? Are you? Is there a place or a space in your heart or life that needs to be broken and yielded to Christ? My friends, we've got to stop fighting in battles that aren't ours. We've got to stop struggling when we should be resting. Sidebar, resting is holy. Our God did it. We got to stop making an idol of busyness. Challenge yourself to rest. Rest. Stop pointing blame and shame. Get on your Facebook and fix some things. Start choosing mercy and grace. Stop fighting with the church and start fighting for the church. There's a difference. People can tell when you're speaking truth in love that you're fighting for them, not with them. Start fighting for your friends. Start fighting for your marriages. Start fighting for your children. Start setting up boundaries. Healthy boundaries that the enemy cannot pass, that unsafe people cannot pass, that compromised people cannot pass. Lives are at stake. Your families are at stake. Your relationships are at stake. Your reputation is at stake. In these, your battles remain, knowing you don't face them alone. Jesus remains in you. When you can, choose faith over fear. Commit to conviction over compromise. Forgive. give mercy, extend grace, embrace the weaknesses that point the world to God. Would you stand with me today? I want you all to mention to your pastor how early we got out this morning. Some of us don't need to travel to Egypt to go down the road, but that's all I'll say. He's going to listen to this, y'all. It's okay. You can tell he's a professor, can't you? Whew. And he's one of the best communicators I've ever known in my life, but I'm a little biased. But make sure you mention, hey, it's 11:10. You're welcome. You're welcome. This is our time, church. This is our time. Our time. We have but a few moments on this earth to stand firm, to remain when all else retreat. Amen. Can I give you a blessing this morning, and then we'll carry our faith and conviction with us into next week? Awesome. Not going to wait for your response. Unto him who is able to keep you from falling and failing and running, may he give you the strength, the conviction, the light of life, a tangible way to know and sense his powerful presence within and around you. May you walk into your next moment, your next day, your next week, your next month, and all the rest of your life with the powerful truth of his powerful peace and presence that is yours. May you be changed. May your loved ones be changed. May the world be changed because you recognize that resurrection power and you have the courage to remain. May you be very blessed, so very blessed today. You, your children, your children's children, may they know the goodness of God all their days. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.